This country is at war, ladies and gentlemen, and the administration doesn't want to acknowledge it. But the people in New York are on high alert today. Police are looking for suspects after multiple bombs have been found in the city. And just this morning, another bomb exploded at a train station in New Jersey.
The FBI took 5 people into custody last night in connection with the explosion in Manhattan's Chelsea neighborhood. But it's unclear if the bombs in New Jersey are directly linked to what happened in New York City. George Thomas has the story.
A dramatic moment captured on tape as a device explodes outside a train station in New Jersey early this morning, just as a bomb squad was preparing to disarm it. The FBI says 4 other devices were found in the same backpack. One local official said that had all devices gone off, the explosion would have certainly killed and injured many.
So bomb just went off in New York.
This latest incident comes after a bomb exploded in New York City Saturday evening.
We heard the shatter of the windows and everything else, and we just ducked.
The explosion so powerful, authorities are shocked it didn't kill anyone.
Come with me. I'm holding you, okay? Come with me. You okay? Nothing's gonna happen.
All 29 people injured have since been released from area hospitals. Police say the bomb, which was placed in this dumpster, and another device found nearby, were shrapnel-filled pressure cookers designed for maximum casualties. Moments after the explosion, a 911 caller warned there will be more. Authorities are now searching for a man named Ahmed Khan Rahami. The FBI has released this wanted poster of the 28-year-old, said to be an American citizen of Afghan descent. Investigators are at the crime scene today, combing through thousands of bits and pieces of the bomb that still cover the street.
The evidence we've collected is being taken to our lab at Quantico for review, and we are following every viable lead as we continue to work jointly with the NYPD.
Authorities are also trying to determine if the explosion here in Manhattan's Chelsea neighborhood is linked to a pipe bomb that exploded in New Jersey earlier on Saturday.
The word is that both devices are pressure cookers, that they were certainly similar in construct.
Meanwhile, ISIS claimed on Sunday that the 22-year-old Somali American responsible for stabbing 9 people at a mall in Minnesota was a soldier of the Islamic State. According to eyewitnesses, the attacker made references to Allah and asked at least one victim if he was a Muslim before attacking him with a knife. The bombing in New York City and the attack in Minnesota come just a week before the first presidential debate, putting terrorism back in the national spotlight. George Thomas, CBN News.
Well, maybe they'll start calling it what it is, Islamic terrorism. But ladies and gentlemen, we've got a cancer in the Middle East. We allowed it to develop, and we haven't really taken enough steps. I mean, we've been playing with it. The time has come for an all-out effort to eliminate ISIS, and we can do that. It can be done. We've got to say, you know, this business about boots on the ground or no boots, we've got to put in a sufficient force, and we've got to back it up with air power and all the other technical wizardry we have in our arsenal and wipe those people out. We can do it. We've got to do it because it's going to metastasize like a cancer, and it's growing and growing and growing, and they're recruiting. And every time they have one of these instances, they'll probably get 100 more volunteers to do something like that again because it makes them look like big shots. We kill them all or capture them all or do whatever we're going to do with them and get them out of the game, then all of a sudden something great will happen. Well, we've got, they're going into Mosul. Mosul was the Christian center in Iraq, taken over by ISIS and probably destroyed, but now they've finally gotten up enough courage or manpower or whatever it took to begin an assault on Mosul to take that back, and that'll be a major thrust, but it's not going to be easy. So anyhow, it's something to pray about, but it's time for our leaders to get with it. Whether they will, we don't know. Well, terrorism is front and center again as a major issue in the presidential campaign. Wendy Griffith has that story. Wendy?
That's right, Pat. Donald Trump wasted no time calling the explosion in Manhattan a bomb. That's before the cause had been confirmed. But Hillary Clinton was more cautious.
A bomb went off in New York, and nobody knows exactly what's going on. But, boy, we are living in a time We better get very tough, folks.
We have to let this investigation unfold.
Critics say Trump was too quick to rush to judgment, while others pointed out that Clinton herself later came to the same conclusion. The controversy came as more polls have shown the presidential race dead even. Clinton and Trump are tied at 42% of the combined battleground states. That's in the latest CBS New York Times poll. The race looks to remain a dead heat going into the first presidential debate, and that takes place 1 week from tonight, Pat.
Well, Wendy, the thing I keep pointing out is Hillary and the Democrats dumped at least $100 billion or more in television advertising, sliming Trump, saying everything horrible about Trump, doing everything they could to beat him up. And after all those hits, he's now tied with her. She has come from as much as a 14-point lead down to no lead. Even Steven going into this debate, and then with another 30, 40 days left to go, it looks like if Trump begins to open the guns with some advertising, he should be pulling ahead. It's a remarkable horse race. Wendy?
As you mentioned, Iraq is also likely to be one of the key issues in the presidential race. ISIS now controls the ancient city of Mosul there, but U.S. and Iraqi troops could soon launch a major battle to retake the city. Christian refugees who have already fled from ISIS, they just want the radical Islamic army defeated so they can go home. Gary Lane brings us the story from northern Iraq.
It's an all too familiar scene. Another funeral procession in Iraq. This one for victims of a car bombing in a bustling commercial district of Baghdad. Members of ISIS claimed responsibility for the attack against Shiite Muslims. It comes as ISIS feels the heat, desperate to regain lost ground in both Iraq and Syria. President Obama recently sent additional U.S. troops to an airbase near Mosul, and the French have deployed heavy artillery in northern Iraq. The Kurdish Peshmergas say they'll join coalition forces in the effort to free Iraq's second-largest city from the clutches of ISIS. I talked recently to the deputy speaker of the Kurdistan parliament.
The Kurds will be there, and the Kurds like to share this important issue. And, this we are neighbor to Mosul, and this ISIS and the terrorist group, they never belong to this area. They will defeat as soon as possible.
Last spring, the United States and its coalition partners sent the Peshmerga armored personnel carriers and artillery. The Kurds have repeatedly requested advanced weapons. Many Peshmerga fighters only possess antiquated rifles like this one for fighting the Islamic terrorists. Here in the Kurdistan capital city of Erbil, church leaders say they need more help for the Christian refugees. They still need food, clothing, and other supplies. Christians like former Air Force Captain Samir Faris. He suffered an abdominal injury during the Iran-Iraq War, and hot shrapnel tore through his leg during Operation Desert Storm. His family is weary of refugee life. Although he has little money and possessions, Faris shared a lunchtime meal with me and 2 European dignitaries. Swiss emissary William Fry was touched by the experience.
They have nothing, and they received us with such a great openness of heart, and with all what they have shared it with us. And that is a great lesson. It's a great lesson of humility and of friendship.
And maybe faith.
And faith, certainly.
While conditions are now much better than they were 2 years ago when many of these Christians first arrived in Erbil, life is still difficult. They have more privacy now. They're not living in tents. They're living in one-room apartments.
We and a huge number of other refugees lived outside in tents. We had no privacy. We lived in a trailer with 14 families.
The adjustment was difficult for 52-year-old Noel Marzina Garash and his family, because they had lived in a 2-story house in Karakosh. He had a good job as a tailor, and his son Samir worked in construction. Now their family is cramped into a one-room apartment. Both men are unemployed and dependent on others for help. As another winter approaches, these faithful Iraqi Christians are hoping that Daesh, ISIS, will soon be defeated so they may return home. And while they'll have little to go back to, they remain faithful that God will provide.
Our situation has not affected our trust in God. Even though we've lost everything, we will rebuild our lives.
Gary Lane, CBN News, Erbil, Iraq.
Precious. Pat, how important is it for working with the Kurds to defeating ISIS?
I think it's vital, Wendy. I think we have, you see, the deal should be they need arms and they need advanced weapons. So what do? We send them through the Shiite government in Baghdad, and of course they take a cut or keep the stuff and don't send it on to the Kurds. So the Kurds are fighting with like slingshots against tanks and artillery. We need to arm them to the teeth. They're asking for help, and they're great fighters. And the thing is, in my opinion, Wendy, I've said it over and over again, they deserve their own country. They deserve an independent Kurdistan. And what needs to be done is to take that slice of Iraq, which is sort of, again, it's a made-up thing by the Brits, and say that's Kurdistan. Do the same thing with Syria. Put those two together in a cohesive nation. And then they have oil, they have the oil fields, and say they get to keep all that oil out of those fields that belong to that region. And Erbil would be a thriving city. And then you've got Mosul, which is, again, a major city. And the Christians would have protection, and it would be a thing that ought to be done. And whether we have got any statesman in the State Department or the White House who'd understand the geopolitical consequences of this. And as far as the Turkish part of the Kurdish situation, I wouldn't hesitate one iota to take it away from them. I don't think those Turks are necessarily going to be our friends. They're going to be our enemies more and more and more with the Islamization, I should say, of Turkey. Oh, anyhow. That's what ought to be done, but I'm not president, Wendy.
All right, thanks, Pat. Well, you may have an electronic implant in your future. The Wall Street Journal reports that the uses of implants are growing. Now they can be used for a variety of purposes like business cards and storing medical information. Medical implants can be very helpful when people go to the hospitals or emergency rooms. They can quickly give doctors a patient's medical information. Other implants can be used for traveling, and some can even be used as keys to your home or office. And one reason people like them is they can't be lost. That is a good point, Pat.
Well, it's in the Bible. Wendy, you know, it's in the Bible. They can't buy or sell without the mark of the beast. Where do you put the mark? Well, you can put it on a hand. You can put it someplace else in somebody's body. And, you know, Big Brother could watch everything you're doing. That's the danger of them. They're very useful. They're tremendous for medical, for, you know, you don't lose them, etc. But just imagine, all your money would be stored in a little ship that's stuck into your belly, and every time you buy something, they'd pass a reader over your stomach, and it would take money out of your account and balance the books, and you think, I've got to be dependent on my stomach as to how much money I've got?